Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Sofa Chat Stories episode number 4. Is it 4?
Yeah, it's, I guess, the fourth one.
And today it's again me and my friend Giuseppe. And we gathered today to talk about the AI. Interesting topic. And I think we can start rolling. So Giuseppe, tell me your experience with the AI. I think this technology emerged in the past 2 years. And with the launch of the ChatGPT, everyone started doing AI these days. So what was your experience been so far?
I bought as well the subscription for ChatGPT 4. And so what I really liked was that there was a really good interaction by using any language. So if I was speaking in Italian, in English, but was understanding everything. And I was already complaining some episodes ago about the Siri when you are asking something. And 99% of the time in Italian or in English is not understanding. In this case, for ChatGPT was perfect. And there is the really good thing is that you start having research for any topic that you have in mind before what you were doing. What was the usual thing that you were doing? Going on Google. You were starting your researching there. Nowadays, you just ask by voice ChatGPT, what are my options, what I can do in if there is this kind of problem, and you start asking more and more details to this language model. It's amazing.
Did you use the version 3.5 or did you pay for the version 4?
I used maybe the free version for 1 week, but after I was too curious and I paid for the version 4. And if you see now, there was the you could use DALL for generating images. Now, a couple of days ago, there was the same thing that has been done for the videos. Now it's possible to generate any kind of videos. I didn't try myself this new functionality, but so far there is they are doing really well.
Okay, so let's stop here maybe on the ChatGPT first.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about other products, such as you mentioned DALL-E, for example. And then I'm not sure if you have tried the OpenAI called Midjourney.
I didn't try Midjourney. That one mainly because you need to have one account. It is not a standalone app, if I'm not wrong.
No, it's not. You have to use it through some
Discord.
Yeah. I think Discord is the main usage. Okay, so let's start with the ChatGPT, and I can start with my experience and say a couple words, and then feel free to comment on it if you think I'm wrong. So I think when ChatGPT was released, I tried on the same day or maybe on the second day, and I was super excited about what that thing can do, and everyone was playing around, try to write a poem about, I don't know, pasta or spaghetti, if Shakespeare would write it, for example, and it was super funny. It was able to do pretty cool things. But then I tried to apply the ChatGPT to my daily work, and I can only say it sucks. It really sucks. I will start giving you examples. So it can really solve the generic problems. Like when we speaking about the coding, for example, if you ask, implement the simple endpoint to parse the JSON and store it to the database, it does it pretty well. And it can run the tests, write the test for this endpoint, no problem. But when you try something more complex from the domain that is not yet very well known, for example, again, utilizing my experience, I'm using a lot of Solidity language, writing smart contracts. It really sucks balls with the Solidity.
But it's new. If you ask something in Objective-C, Swift, Kotlin, is writing really everything that you ask. The problem in that case still is that it's not as you need to spend a lot of time asking, giving more and more details to what is the final outcome that you have in mind. So it's not like that you get already something. You have a really basic scenario, and after you need to give more input and more and more and more, and there will be something really similar to what you need, but you need to spend time.
It still doesn't work.
For Solidity, it doesn't work, but consider that how long time does it exist?
I think Solidity.
No, Solidity, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. I think it's 2-3 years.
2-3 years. Something usable.
I mean, definitely usable.
Usable?
Yeah.
I think that there is the version 3.5 was decent, but before that,
I mean, version 4 is paid version, right?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly. I think it does a pretty good job in general,
Yeah.
and for normal languages, again, as we discussed. And I believe that the authors of the ChatGPT, they feeded like the entire GitHub open source code base into this thing, so it can actually learn on that code base. But again, for more narrow applications, like again the blockchain, it doesn't really do a good job. And I can give you an example. For example, maybe you don't know, but
yeah, can I interrupt you one thing?
Yes.
Did you try also the other AI that are available in the market, like for example Gemini?
I haven't tried Gemini. I'm sorry, but I'm using ChatGPT, or not the ChatGPT, but the GitHub Copilot for Solidity, and it does a better job than ChatGPT. But we can stop on it.
Better doesn't mean perfect.
Not perfect in any way, but it's useful to the point that it's helpful. So I can use it on the daily basis, and it doesn't really annoy me, and it produces quite good results.
Can I ask you which are the other use that you do of ChatGPT? You are using AI only for coding, or it can help you in other situation?
Okay, that's a very good question. I actually used it in some ways in economics and in the investing. For example, if you need to calculate, for example, if you want to invest some money, and then the people who are taking this money, they're promising you some APY or APR, like 2.4% on the annual basis. It's you need to go into the Google spreadsheets and you need to calculate this manually. You need to take into account a lot of things, but the ChatGPT is really good at it. It just can calculate you everything in 5 seconds, and then you can see a full full overview of how you're borrowing money or investing money, and it's really good at it. And if you are buying the real estate, and it's again also like it can take into account the Euribor rates, the bank margins, and things like that. It can really, put it down for you. It's really good for this.
Basically, is you are asking information by giving multiple inputs that would be really complicated to do it by yourself.
It won't be really complicated to do it by myself. It's just more time consuming, I would say. So it will, to calculate the example that I just mentioned, that would take me, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. ChatGPT does it for me in 10 seconds. So for this application, I would say it's really, really good. And I know a lot of people are saying this, and this is a cliche. And I think the ChatGPT is Google on steroids, honestly. This is like a second version this is a Google 2.0.
Yeah, but why you should ask, why you should digit anymore anything in Google if you can ask by voice? You will get everything. You will get the output with precise information, even if there is some problem with all the AI that how is called when the information are not legit.
Validity of the...
Not the validity. They have a specific name for when the information that are given are basically fantasy.
Okay, so like to make sure that the information is truth, and not like a lies.
Consider that in Bard Gemini, they add the possibility to validate the information that the AI is giving you, because there is this problem initially, also in ChatGPT, that there is some information that is misleading, and so the result can be completely wrong.
Okay, wanted to give you another application of the ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
which is really good. So when you are a software engineer and then you're applying for a job, and then the company says you have 5 interviews.
I have no idea what he's talking.
So you you have like 5 rounds of interviews, and one of them is
Mm-hmm.
a whiteboard coding interview, like you need to solve some task, and then it's really good for this point. Like when you go to the interview, and no, this is the truth, and then I have a lot of annoyance about the companies keep asking you to reverse a double linked list on the interview. Don't do it. If you are a company and you watch this, don't do it. This is just stupid. And all of those like tasks when let's start with a simple task. So let's say we have 3 dicks. One dick is 2 inches, a second dick is 0.5 inches longer than the first one. Which dick is Andri's dick? And then you have to apply algorithms that you used last time 12 years ago in the uni and try to solve it, and otherwise they will not consider you for this position.
I can tell you, if you need to hire anyone nowadays, because of all the AI models, the main problem is that you cannot anymore assign and give to the applicant any home assignment. That was like creating the base for some discussion.
Here I disagree. But finish your thought. And
nowadays, what you do, you just like ask something really basic, or you can just directly give some project code, and after you do some pair programming. That one is the reasonable thing. But initially, the simple thing that everyone could do as hiring manager was exactly giving a home assignment, asking to consume some REST API, or to do some calculation, or try to understand something a bit more complicated. But still, nowadays it's useless. You take the text, you ask, will be done in any programming language.
Not in Solidity. But here where
But I'm pretty sure that would be, even in Solidity, something
no,
completely wrong.
No, completely wrong. And for example, you might not know this because maybe you haven't ever traded on the markets.
I did, but in the wrong moment.
Okay, so for example, maybe you know what slippage is.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be an assignment for you in the that you need to code in Solidity. For example, you have a number of assets that you need to swap on the decentralized exchange, and you need to protect the swap from the slippage, so you don't have a lot of losses if you get like not hacked but sandwiched. I don't want to talk about the MEV, maximum extractable value from the block, but basically when you are swapping one asset to another one, there is a chance that your asset will be sandwiched and you will get much less tokens as an output. So this is called slippage. And then you need to really be careful when you're doing this. And when you try to ask ChatGPT to do it, try to protect against slippage, it just doesn't understand anything at all. And it will try to output some results, and you just say it's bull crap, do it again. And then you try to, teach it.
But
doesn't work.
Question: ChatGPT understand what is this concept? Did you ask?
Yes, ChatGPT definitely understand what the concept of slippage is. It definitely understand what is the decentralized exchange. It does understand what is a smart contract, but it doesn't understand how to solve the slippage problem. And this is the most basic like Web3 DeFi problem out there. This is the first thing. If you are swapping tokens, this is the slippage is the first issue to tackle, because you will get sandwiched one way or another, and you will get wrecked. For example, if you want to swap 10,000 USDC for 5 Ethereums, and if you get sandwiched for 10,000 USDC, you will get 0.001 Ethereum, and this sandwich is pretty bad. This is called MEV, but ChatGPT doesn't know how to do it. And again, about the home assignment.
I would like to try with Bard Gemini to see if the same problem has been solved in other levels. Anyway, before what was called Bard, now is Gemini. I figured out that now there is also a paid subscription for using these enhanced language model, because it's not anymore the same of what was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Should be about a bit smarter.
Okay.
I didn't see myself too much difference, but they say that is better.
Is the Gemini, is it Microsoft?
Mm, Google.
Okay, Google. Yeah, I haven't tried it.
Microsoft use it's the major investor for OpenAI. So basically, is a ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 4 is used inside Bing. That is a product from Microsoft.
Okay. And I wanted to come back for a minute about the home assignment, because you said like the home assignment, they can be done with the AI as well.
Yeah.
And here where I also disagree, while it is true what you said, you can literally just put the text with requirements into the chat GPT and make it work for you. But usually it's very uncreative in terms of like, I mean, for me, architecting and code is a very creative process. And I'm always trying to come up with something new, like a different approach, do some like full test coverage, make sure everything works perfectly. ChatGPT will just give you the most generic answer out there. It will be good. It will be working. It will be optimized. But like to be an outstanding candidate when you're doing a home assignment, I would really like to do some creative work, like do something on top of what was asked for me to do.
Anyway, it's not a problem, because that one, what the candidate gives you back is only the base for doing pair programming. So you will ask, okay, what is the different approach to do the same thing? What you can do to make it a bit faster? What is the memory management for this part? So the idea is that the initial part of the assignment for the technical interview can be done, but now everything is evolving in a way that there will be more and more questions. At the end, if there is someone that is capable, it should not be a problem at all. But I wanted to ask you another things about this AI.
All right.
Now, before you were talking about the problems related to the blockchain and Solidity. So what I wanted to ask you is a bit different from that. Do you know, for example, if you are asking something specific, there are information that this AI is not giving you?
For example,
if you ask things about real people.
Okay, so what you mean? There are some information about the people that you cannot get from the chat GPT.
Imagine if you are asking to Dalle generate an image of Bill Gates.
Okay, it cannot do it?
It cannot do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it can.
No, it can't. But if you ask in a different way, there are basically the workarounds. The workaround is if you are making the same question in a different way, that you can elude the censorship from.
You can kind of trick it.
Yeah.
To do it for.
At least initially. Now I don't know if it's still possible, but still that one is one of the major problems, because even if there is like one public information that you can find everywhere, they are just not doing it. I guess for some problem related.
Okay, so I think we can talk about this, and in the way that, so all of those products like ChatGPT and Gemini, they are proprietary products, right? So they're like software as a service. You need to pay for the subscription. So obviously the code base is closed, right? You cannot see what artificial like limits the developers put in the code, right? So they cannot generate the images of the people. But I think there are a lot of language models out there, even on GitHub, that are open sourced. Which basically means even if there are any artificial limits, anyone can just fork it and remove them.
It's not that simple, because anyway, when you have a language model, you need to do some
learning.
You need to do some learning, and I think that there are like 4 levels. The first two are doable, but to give more and more content to these models, basically a lot of money is needed. It's something that really just like Amazon, Google, this major player can do.
Okay.
So it's, I know, for example, nowadays there are really all the IT companies that they have like the idea, now we will build our own AI. They just take all the open source code they find online, they do like one puzzle and they have their own AI. after that, you ask anything, as soon as the information is not part of the learning of that model, will just give you back some kind of placeholder answer. So
Okay.
it's basically a terrible experience.
Well, I think it's also restricting the AI to not generate images of the certain people is part of the regulations, because I see a lot of people are talking about how we regulate AI so it's not harmful for the humanity. I honestly don't really know how we can do it, especially with the amount of the open source code. I know that you mentioned that it's quite hard, and the data sets I think are more important and valuable than the source code itself. But I don't think that we can really regulate this, especially the more and more players will jump into the market. There is a chance there will be some company registered in Bahamas. They will release their software as a service version that can do anything, generate images of Bill Gates. Because
I hope so.
because they're on. But, so you see it as a problem.
No, for me, it's not a problem at all. But I guess that all these people that want to create a regulation is because there is some, maybe some old mentality. They believe that there is like something similar to SkyNet from Terminator that will bring to the end of the way of living as we know.
But who knows? Maybe the AI will start becoming really conscious, and that might be the problem. I mean, I'm definitely not. I don't believe in the in the sci-fi that the AI will erase all the humans from the earth and then the cyborgs will go and kill us. But there might be situations when this might be harmful, especially when faking the images and the information and videos about certain people, which can be used against them. But honestly, I don't think regulations will help.
I think it was Taylor Swift that there was some video that was created about her and was completely fake.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like something that happened. At the end,
I saw a lot of memes about the Taylor Swift recently, but I didn't see the video that was generated about her.
there are always these possibilities, but so far there will be someone that will believe that is a alleged video, someone else that doesn't. But do you think that we should focus on this kind of problematics? Because for everything, for every new technology, there are pros and cons.
Of course.
What are the pro in this case? It's just like helping us to write some clean code?
It's, well, as I mentioned, I think it's a Google on steroids, Google 2.0, if I may. So I think it's good in the sense that it really speeds up a lot of manual stuff that we do every day, especially like in the finances and the economics. It's really easy to do everything now with the ChatGPT. So that's a massive pro. The con is that, of course, it might be used to generate some false information, some false images and videos. But honestly, I don't think you can do anything about it. The technology is there. It's kind of decentralized, and we have a lot of open source code. So anyone can literally modify this code and learn their models to do any shit they want. And I mean, if we want to throw a lot of taxpayers' money into like thousands of people who work as regulators and they will achieve nothing, sure, we can do it, but I'm just against it. And it's the same with the blockchain. There are a lot of regulations that the European Union is trying to enforce, but it's just actually not possible at all because it's decentralized.
Yeah.
And as long as you have, like, I don't know, a ledger with the 20 Ethereum addresses, it's not possible to track you at all. And no matter how many regulations you put, it will be just, harder for normal people to use it. But for the scammers and the people who use it to abuse the system,
I think that you is like talking about creating this regulation. They are not technical, so they don't
Exactly.
know what they are talking
Yes.
about. They have some idea that maybe they come from television, movies, or
No,
can be really everything. But I don't really believe that there will be 1-2 people that are knowledgeable about this topic. But a lot of them, they are just making. They are talking.
Yeah, I mean, this is usually just a political decision.
Yeah.
Like we are going to protect our people from this bullshit.
It's for the next election,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
of
they will
course.
think to get more votes.
And then you have this, like, a bunch of people, probably thousands of people, spending taxpayers' money and achieving nothing. But then we, of course, can put a very, big slogans on our election program saying we are trying to protect people. So it's quite bullshit to me. And we can jump to talk about the GitHub Copilot.
Think that I never used it yet.
Okay.
But tell me if I'm wrong. It's not like Microsoft.
It's Microsoft. It's from the GitHub, actually. And the GitHub is owned by Microsoft.
Okay. Because I think that now there is every single product from the Microsoft suite that has some AI.
Like Excel. I don't use it. I just use the Google spreadsheets. But okay, cool. So I'm going to talk a bit about the Copilot just because Giuseppe didn't use it yet. But I highly recommend it to use if you do some coding, even some small coding. So, I mean, you just plug it into your editor and that's it. You basically, if you want to write the function or the class, all you need to do sometimes, just write the docstring on the top of the file and click tab.
I saw it in YouTube indeed. You write just the comment and magically your function is written.
It's really, really good. I already marketed this. No one really paid me for marketing. I actually pay for the Copilot with my own money. I think it's 10.
That's really bad. So you do advertisement and they don't give you money.
Just Microsoft give me money for the free promotion. So it's $10 per month. I don't think it's too high for the value they're asking for. I'm pretty sure they will raise the price at some point to maybe $20 or $25, or they will maybe do some different tiers of
but it's deductible anyway.
Yeah, from the company, as we said, like it's on the company. So about the Copilot, I think it really shines in the traditional programming languages, and especially if you're working with the web services, web development, and SaaS, because it's really oriented towards the REST API building, like REST APIs, database layers. It's perfectly good with the writing SQL code if you need to write some migration scripts in the SQL language. But again, with the more exotic languages, again, as a Solidity, it sometimes needs a bit of learning. But here's the point. You cannot really teach ChatGPT, right? When you open the new tab.
No, that one is based, I think every 6 months they do some update in the model. But I think in this case, there is like access to the GitHub code base, if I'm not wrong.
And the point with the Copilot is that it learns as you progress with your project. So for example, when I start a new Solidity project and I ask it to build something for me, usually it's really bad at the beginning. But once you build the skeleton of your application, the contracts, you have some interfaces in place, it actually analyzes your entire code base and it will start giving you suggestions, like given the context of your entire project, which I think it's really good and it feels really personal. It's not like ChatGPT. It's like for everyone, the same experience. For everyone, of course, in the same session, you can, adjust it a bit, tell it that it's wrong, ask it to do different things. But with the Copilot, it remembers your project layout every time you open the editor.
Aren't you worried that they are spying your code? Because anyway, you are creating code that is not open source, so it's not available to anyone.
I would care if my code wasn't open source, but everything that I do is open source.
Oh. So basically, if anyone that is working for a corporate should not use Copilot, because if the code is not open source, should be protected from some...
That's a good question. And honestly, I have no answer to this, but I'm pretty sure that the Microsoft has some terms of agreements. And they said they are not allowed to, spy on the private repos and the personal code. Maybe. I have no idea. But I would say
but if he's
it might be illegal.
If he's analyzing all the code, means that maybe they don't do it, but they can do it.
Yeah, actually, I think all the information is getting sent to the Microsoft servers. At least the Copilot stops working if you don't have internet connection. So I assume they are parsing your code base and they are sending it to the server where actually the AI is running. I don't know. Maybe it's not good if you are working on the private repos, so you have some privacy and secrecy. Maybe that's not the right choice. But honestly, ask yourself, how important is the piece of shit that you are working on?
At the same time,
Honestly.
I guess that if you are working for a company, they have some policy in place for using AI. So at that point, the responsibility is on someone else table.
Does your
So
company have a policy on using AI? Do you know?
I think so. I think so. They have it.
So you can't use Copilot.
I didn't read the policy because I'm not using Copilot yet. It's for me. There are a lot of things I use. For example, ChatGPT. If you take notes of any meeting, there is a really nice summarize, perfect English, perfect sentences. But so far is like a different kind of use for the AI than for a full-time developer.
Okay.
Of course,
Okay.
I'm most likely spend when it's about development time in doing peer review to some other people code. So I understand that there are problems when the project is not open source. I'm pretty sure also that there is some solution that has been found because any company that is Microsoft partner, they will have something in place.
Yeah, I guess they can provide you with some I don't know, the AI that you can deploy yourself for your organization on your own servers and use it privately.
I don't think that exists yet, something like this, or at least is if companies are working on that, the capabilities is extremely limited
Yeah.
because we cannot compare it with ChatGPT 4 that is the one that Microsoft is using, or even Gemini because they spend tons of millions and millions. So it's something that at some point probably will be there will be simplified the way to create your own one. For example, there is OpenAI that also gave the possibility of creating your own GPT. So if you want to create your own language model that is more specialized in some particular topic, you can do it. And you can also advertise it and sell it through their system.
Okay. That's interesting.
That one is like imagine that you want to I don't give me an example, something that you are 100% knowledgeable for, that is not about blockchain and something different.
Um
Bread, baking bread. Imagine that you want to create your own GPT with all the information about
or
uh,
pasta.
or bread or pasta. You can have it. But at the same time, at that particular GPT, there will be a base knowledge that probably is in line with some version of ChatGPT, plus all the extra information that you want to give to your particular customization of language model. That one is something that is not even recent. I think it's like 6 or 8 months ago, but
I'm not sure if
something.
it's like very widely used. Maybe it is used because I see a lot more
I saw in LinkedIn a lot of people that were advertising some particular
I
GPT.
think those people, they're just adding some UI layer on top of ChatGPT API
No,
and just selling it for $10 per month.
but it's not a bad idea indeed. 10 bucks are 10 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, can't argue with that. Just wanted to wrap up the topic about the Copilot. Just try to use it. I think there is a free trial. If you're a coder, definitely go for it. I mean, try it with the free trial. I'm pretty sure you will like it. And just to wrap up, I think. Well, I'm very confident that the Copilot, it can solve the slippage problem. It does it pretty well, especially if you like write the function swap and you put a doc string. I want to do a slippage check in this function. It actually works pretty well. It literally calculates the slippage with the delta percentage that you provide it with, and if you provide the price oracle, it will calculate the slippage and it will revert in case the slippage is too high. So it's much better than the ChatGPT in terms of the coding. But of course, Copilot is a coding specialized AI tool. And I think you had some question that you wanted to bring in towards the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I was more than medicine. I was thinking which a good question can be which are the possible improvements, what we will see next as part of this AI hype. Because here we are talking about a chatbot that is enhanced by AI. We are talking about some really nice enhancement for auto completion for code. We can consider Copilot and auto completion, right? Because here you mentioned that we can write the comment on the top of a function, and there will be an auto completion for that, and even the unit testing. So something really nice. But what next?
Let's talk about Tesla.
Yeah,
Tesla Autopilot. Is it
during
machine learning? Is it AI? And what's the difference?
so that one during the break, I was talking to him. Who is the fault? Is fault of Tesla if the driver has an accident, or is fault of the car if the autonomous driving is enabled?
I think
It
it's the driver. Because I mean,
depends.
if you ever driven the Tesla with the autopilot, like the Model 3, for example, if you like go for the test drive and you enable the autopilot mode, it literally tells you keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah,
That's your responsibility. You are the driver.
this basically in Europe there is not the full autonomous driving enabled. If you are in US, you can just leave.
I think it is. I think it is.
There is.
Yes, I mean I driven the Tesla Model 3
You
like
need-
4-wheel drive with the
do you need to
autopilot.
keep? Do you need to keep
Yes.
the hands?
Yeah, you need to keep the hands.
So it's not full.
Okay.
Because think that in US you can just like stay seated and look the car that is driving you to the destination. But the point is, in that case, if an accident happen, who is the fault? Probably of the driver, because there will be some user agreement, but still. Imagine applying in that case, I think is more machine learning than AI.
Mhm.
But still, imagine in the case of AI, if you are thinking about a different application of AI. I was like having before as example what the pharmacy. Usually there are people that go to the pharmacy and they ask the doctor what they can do to solve some particular problem instead of going to the hospital and to get the same problem solved. But usually, what you can do is, for example, I have some headache, and you check in your online pharmacy. At that point, at least for Helsinki, there is for some medicines that requires some prescription. There is like the shot is require the one doctor. There is a queue, and then after that you can like talk with the doctor, and there will be this kind of process. It is not automatic, means that there is a part that you can decide your medicines, and the part that anyway the doctor must approve that medicine before that you can pass to the payment and the delivery. So the point is that if there will be in this kind of scenario the use of AI, you can have everything automated. But at that point, if there is like something suggested that is wrong, who is the responsibility? Who is the responsible?
Honestly, I would say that the AI can definitely improve this experience, like getting the antibiotics, for example, or Burano, or anything that you need with a prescription.
If we are in Finland, probably they will tell you to take the Burana.
Yes,
So
yes, that's a
who-
default cure
Yeah.
for every disease here in Finland. But my point is that I would say there will still be a doctor working in pair with the AI. So AI will be proposing something to the doctor, and the doctor will be making the final decision because of how imperfect the AI is still at this moment. And even it will be perfect, it will be not like making the right decisions to 100%. Neither are doctors making the right decisions, but still, like if they're working in pair, like I don't know, as a co-pilot in each other, that would be the good, like how to say it, experience for the people who for the patients. But I don't think we will ever see a case when the doctors will disappear and you will just be getting the pharmaceuticals given by AI.
What about lawyers?
Same thing.
They will not disappear. At least the law, the legislation, every
The law
law
is different in every country. Like every country has a different law, and there is also an international law, which is also a quite huge book if you read it.
Exactly. Imagine the AI that consume all this knowledge.
Yes, but the laws are changing every day.
Yeah.
The
and
governments are
AI
voting
can
for new
be-
laws.
The AI can be updated every second day as well.
And
So why you should still pay a lawyer for following your case
Bec-
if at some point there will be the AI that will be enough advanced to
I think because most AIs, they are programmed in the most ethical way possible.
and lawyers are not ethical,
Lawyers
right?
are not ethical. Lawyers are interested in your defense and winning the case, no matter how guilty you are. So you are the client, and if the lawyer wins your case, even if you're a murderer, they will get the money. AI is different. They will just give you a decision, go to a fucking jail for 20 years.
So you think that it's not possible to create an AI that is not ethical?
I think it is possible.
So
Definitely possible, but I don't think the governments will be using AIs that are not ethical.
let's imagine one language model. In that case before, let's think that is not ethical, and I say, okay, this is the law. What is the workaround? This is the reason why I'm considered guilty. What is the workaround to show that I'm not guilty?
I mean, you will definitely get the nice answer, and you can work around that. But still, without the lawyer, I don't think you can win the case, because law is a very complicated subject to study. And even if the AI, it will give you one answer, and if you think that you are so good that you will go to the court and defend yourself, I don't think that's true. I don't think like any of us is
So-
good with the law that we can protect ourselves in the court.
Let me change the question. You think that this particular kind of unethical AI will be something that will help lawyer to do better their job?
Maybe.
That one has a sense. Indeed, you know that there will be announcement for every different field, but hopefully they will focus in something a bit better, like the cure for cancers or simulation for some kind of conditions that nowadays, because there is not a really good connection between all the research. Imagine that this AI can be consuming every single research that there is in place, and they can come out even autonomously to some new treatment for some rare.
I mean, we can only see how it's going to work. I mean, just to
It's really early anyway. We are really talking.
Indeed, I think it's really early, and for the domains that are constantly changing, I think it will be quite challenging to keep all of those AIs up to date, especially when we are talking about laws. Imagine you have, I don't know how many countries are in the world, like a lot, hundreds of countries, and every country has new laws or old laws banished, like every week, every month, and then you need to update those models every now and then so they can keep up with the recent updates. It will be extremely hard.
Question. Usually in any television, for example, in the summertime when they have a lack of news, they always show like cats, or they always show old people that go washing their face at the fountain. So what is the typical thing that newspaper, television say about AI? Will replace a lot of work. There will in 10 years there will not be the same kind of jobs that there are nowadays, because will be people will not be needed anymore for doing that particular job, because the AI will do it. How would you answer
Okay.
to this?
Let me start from afar and ask you another question. So let's move back to the times before the Industrial Revolution, right? Before people started building factories. So before that, there was a lot of manual labor. There was a lot of like horses involved on fields. There were no heavy machinery. There were no like metal factories and things like that. And I'm pretty sure when the first factories started building, there were a lot of people saying, oh my God, we are going to run out of jobs. People are going to be replaced by machines. Just because, and I don't think it's the case.
No, indeed it is. Imagine that nowadays there are a lot of fabric that make shoes, but there are no anymore. There are just a few of artisans that make the shoes by themselves, because the most amount of shoes is done by manufactured fabrics and so on.
Most amount of shoes, but still there are so many brands of shoes that are still handcrafted.
But for the most amount,
You are from Italy. Tell me about the amount of like brands that are still handmade in their shoes.
but I can tell you that the big brands are not handcrafted.
Of course,
Let's
mass market is not doing handcrafted stuff.
Let's think about something really popular, like I don't know, Prada, Hogan, Tots, these kind of brands. They are Italian. They are super famous. Do you think that they are handmade? They are not.
I think some of the models are handmade, definitely. If you're asking for, I don't know, 500 euros for a pair of shoes, that should be definitely handmade.
They are not.
Okay.
I can tell you that, for example, Tots and Hogan, they are done from some from some factory, but I don't really think that they are handmade. They are done in series. But at the same time, there are artisans that do this kind of shoes by themselves. Does not mean that this kind of job does not exist anymore. But there are not so many possibilities.
But let's forget the shoes. Let's switch back to the machines and industrial revolution. So when the first factories started, arising on the horizon, someone needs to build machines. Someone needs to build factories. Someone needs to renew those factories, modernize them. Someone needs to service machines. Someone needs to work on those factories.
So it means that the kind of jobs evolved in something different.
Exactly. So some redundant jobs that were archaic and old, they were just replaced with the new types of jobs.
So now I can do my one funny joke. So will not be needed anymore to do any debugging on any project and code, because that will be already not existing anymore.
Exactly. And then you have more time now to do some different kind of things. I don't know, more planning, more architecture.
We can be more time in meetings.
Oh, absolutely. Like, let's have 4 meetings instead of 1 per day. But I mean, yeah, true. I mean, just the point. I think the AI might replace some manual labor that is still being done today, but I think it will create so many new jobs and opportunities, so we won't even notice. And I think a lot of people who complain about the future changes, the future will kill our society, I think they are just afraid of changes. And then they have to remember that you always have to be flexible. You have to adapt all the time. And if you're working as, I don't know, you're working at the factory and now the factory doesn't exist, I mean, you have to do something. Otherwise, you won't get any money. And the same thing, if you were, I don't know, a manual QA and now the AI is doing your job, do something else. Just learn some AI, learn some new skills and start working somewhere else.
Of course.
There are always possibilities. People, I want to get more into Karl Marx and Das Kapital that he wrote. I'm not a big fan of the communism. I'm coming from the Eastern Europe, from a post-communistic country. I hate communism. But Marx got it really right about the people. And he said, machines don't matter. Nothing matters except people. People are the most important asset on the planet. And I think no matter how advanced the AI is, it's still made by people for people. AI cannot serve, you can make like 2 AIs pipelines kind of work, but what's the purpose? The end user is still a person. And the AI needs to be built by someone. AI needs to be taught by someone. You need to collect the data sets. You need to market it. You need to sell it. You need to, deploy it. There's still a lot of jobs around this. So people who are afraid that their jobs will be removed, I don't think you have to be afraid. Well, maybe some people who are like doing some very primitive copywriting and they're making, $5 per hour. I don't say that you are bad or you are not needed on the market, but you can definitely improve your copywriting with the AI these days and become more effective and profitable.
or redundant?
I mean, this is always a possibility, but there are so many opportunities now on the job market that, I mean, I don't feel it will be a problem.
What do you think about SkyNet and Terminator?
I think we are too far away from this possibility. I definitely think it will be possible. No one thought that the AI in this form that we have it now was possible maybe 20 years ago.
No.
Maybe it will be possible, but it will require the AI to become conscious about itself. It needs to, develop some, how to call it, aggressive and negative attitude towards humanity and decide to erase it. But at the same time, like to kill people, you need the army, and like you need cyborgs, you need factories to build those cyborgs, and I think human can intervene that. I mean, that's a very interesting question, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sorry, all the fans of the Terminator movie, but at least not in this lifetime. Maybe in 200 years we can record another podcast and talk again about this, or our kids can do it, but I don't think it will be possible in this century.
So I think we arrived to the end of this podcast for today.
I thank you, everyone who is going to watch this video. I thank you, Giuseppe, again for hosting this. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
And if you didn't subscribe,
Yes.
mark the bell,
Subscribe.
and see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Guys.